Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our daily news analysis. And as always, we are referring to the Hindu newspaper's Delhi edition. Now, I can't fail to notice there is an ad of coaching, and we do have certain programs. Unfortunately, we don't advertise it so much. So, we have very cost effective models, be it personal guidance program for the comprehensive preparation of for 2023 till mains. So, we provide timetables. We have one-to-one sessions with each and every student. Likewise, we have the personal guidance program on mains answer writing. So similar pattern we are following, and also for essay writing. And besides, we are going to start the optional support mentorship as well as tests for history and geography. So very economical, cost effective, and from student perspective, since there is one-to-one interaction, one-to-one, not group interaction, so one-to-one, that is very impactful, and it has visible impact on the outcomes. So I can actually show you if you connect with me on the Zoom or Google Meet. If you're interested, you can reach out to me on my WhatsApp or on this Google form that is there in the description box. Okay, now let's come to the news. So first of all, we have a news on Sri Lanka. So we heard yesterday that Gotabaya Rajapaksa, the president of Sri Lanka, concerning the threat to his safety, he plans to flee away. He was wanting to go to the USA. Now he has made a compromise and he has fled to Maldives. So naturally, Sri Lanka would need an acting president. So now the acting president is Ranil Wickremesinghe. So Ranil Wickremesinghe was the prime minister of Sri Lanka. Okay, so we're done with Sri Lanka thing today. Now, this is about, this bulldozer politics and the issue of, we know, right? Anybody protesting, bulldozer politics was taking place. The houses were destroyed by the demolition drives. So petition has been filed in the Supreme Court saying that please ban this demolition drives. So this is not the right thing to do. Now, Supreme Court says that we cannot have a blanket ban. We cannot ban the entire bulldozer or demolition activities. They are justified in some cases. They are not justified in other cases. So this cannot be possible, right? So that is not there. If somebody is obviously doing unlawful construction activities, it has to be removed. So this is there. So naturally, it's pretty valid argument. Next, we have from pre-perspective, we have a reference of the government being represented by the Solicitor General of India. Now the question arises: the political authority Solicitor General, is it a constitutional post? Is it a statutory post? What is its relationship with the Attorney General of India? So naturally, Solicitor General is not mentioned in the Constitution. Attorney General is Article 76. So Solicitor General is neither created via the Constitution nor via an act of the Parliament. So it is created by a set of government rules. So it's executive order. And the purpose is to support the Attorney General. Okay, so we're done with this. Then free precaution jabs at government centers from tomorrow, so that will be there. Health Minister is saying, Mr. Mandavia. Okay, Oppo India gets DRI notice on duty evasion, right? So Oppo is associated, Oppo company. It is having the ownership of Vivo, OnePlus, Realme, all these companies. Vivo has been there in the news for money laundering, and now Oppo, and again a Chinese company. So let's see what happens. So now, from perspective, Directorate Revenue of Intelligence, what are the functions they do? What are the things? So we get it. We can see it. The duty evasion, they are talking about this. So things associated with revenue of the government. And DRI is associated with which ministry? Ministry of Home Affairs or Ministry of Finance? Check and let me know in the comment section. Okay. Now, this is very important. This news over here. This is talking about gender gap or gender inequality via an index known as the Gender Gap Index. It is important because, one, from the society point of view, gender inequality, the issue of women, so that can be asked in the GS1 paper. Essay paper, women is a very, very important theme, women empowerment. So this topic is directly dealing with that. Now it says, if you have to write in your answer what is the status of women in the country, what are the issues faced by them, you can use these indicators to substantiate your points. So that increases the value of your answer. Okay, so India ranks 135 out of 146, right? So India ranks very, very poorly in the gender gap index, which is released by which agency? The World Economic Forum, right? So the World Economic Forum releases it, and this gender gap index measures the inequality based on certain parameters. Naturally, they cannot simply say your country has more inequality, your country has less inequality. There has to be a basis to rank these countries. So there are certain parameters, and these parameters are economic participation and opportunity. So women and this thing, educational attainment, health and survival, political empowerment. Now, if you look at from pre-perspective, what are the parameters that are included in the gender gap index, or which agency releases the gender gap index? That is one. Then we get women, women and economic participation. For example, this is the theme, declining role of women in the labor force participation, or labor force participation rate. What are the reasons? What measures should be taken? Likewise, in educational, why there is higher dropout rate amongst the women? What are the barriers women face in attainment of the education? And we need facts on that also. Health and survival and political empowerment. So political empowerment also, like in the local bodies, we were talking about the Sarpanch Pati culture, at the MLA, MP level, the representation of women is very, very low, around 11 to 14%. Then have they directly been elected, or what is the position, how they are functioning over there? That is also there, right? So these are very, very important themes. Standalone also, individually also. Now, if we say that India ranks poorly, how do we fare when we compare it with the neighbors? Because if we compare it with, let's say, USA or any European country, their chances are they'll do much better than us. But similar countries, so we rank very, very poorly. So Bangladesh, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Maldives, almost all of our neighbors are doing better than us, except Pakistan, Afghanistan. Okay, so this is something that we should know. And besides, there are other indicators also, like gender parity index. I think it is from the UNESCO. They release it, so you can just check that. Okay, now very short news actually. I will not take much time over here. So let's see first. Okay, so first of all, we talked about yesterday as well as in the Mission Mains program, we talked about the issues of raising revenue for the local bodies. Yesterday's opinion section was talking about municipalities, so urban local bodies. And there was a case made for increasing user charges, user charges, or providing them a wider tax base, wider functions on which the local bodies can tax. So more subjects for local bodies to tax. So here we have one example as to how the Municipal Corporation of Delhi, an urban local body, is raising revenue. And it is not much actually when I see this. So this is for a restaurant. If you have to renewal fee for annual renewal fee, that is only 4,000 rupees for a seating capacity of about 44%. So they are objecting to it, right? So the protest is taking place by the traders. Okay, so that is there. Next, we have about pollution and pollution in Delhi. So associated with Delhi actually. So let's see if it's a city, yeah. So with city Delhi, there is a lot of pollution, and Delhi being the national capital, being surrounded by Gurgaon, Faridabad, all that regions. So other states are also involved in contribution to the pollution of Delhi. So naturally, we need to work together on that. So for that, there is a structure that is formed known as Commission for Air Quality Management for the entire NCR. They set out advisories, measures what need to be taken to deal with the issue of pollution. And the pollution in Delhi, especially in the winter months, post Diwali particularly, it's toxic. And it is predictable. So for that, an institutional structure has been created. So the CAQM will be implementing, is already implementing the graded response action plan. Graded response. As the pollution is increasing, as the air quality index is declining, the strictness of the measures or the stringency of the measures is actually increasing. Naturally, pollution is increasing, so more restrictions will be imposed on the people. So now it says that there is a revision that has taken place in the graded response action plan. And what is that revision? Earlier, what was taking place, they were taking action on the basis of AQI, like stage 2 will be declared when AQI is between 301 to 400. Now it says that measures will be taken based on the predictions of worsening air quality. Naturally, we can predict, I mean, it's common, so you don't even have to see AQI the way the pollution is. So based on predictions, we will take measures 3 days in advance. So this seems to be a positive step. Let's see how it is implemented. Right, so you see the political news, I'm not really discussing all of this. So I just wanted to have you an idea that what all things are there. Okay, so this article is very, very important. So I have shared it on my Telegram page also, IASPrimers as well as CSE coach. So I've shared over there. So it is about the hijab case. Remember the hijab controversy that had taken place in the early part of this year? And yeah, early part of this year. So Karnataka High Court, this controversy took place in Karnataka. So the Karnataka High Court had said that hijab, you don't, if the college authorities or the school authority says that you have to wear a uniform and if hijab is not part of that, then in that case, the school authorities are right. Then you don't wear the hijab. If you want to wear the hijab, don't come to school. So Karnataka High Court had held that valid. Now, the people who were affected by that, they have gone to the Supreme Court. Naturally, so appellate jurisdiction over the High Court. So they have gone to Supreme Court. Now over here, I have highlighted and I've also shared it on this thing. So we get the series of cases that are going to be discussed in the Supreme Court. So we will have a lot more material on this. Plus, we will get to know about the essential practices test. Right, so essential practice test, again, a very important theme for the upcoming mains examination, GS2. Okay, tribal villagers in border chased out of choosing wrong state. Wait, for this I'll have to show you the map only. So, yeah. So, some time back, and in fact, this was a very important development, considering that Assam has boundary disputes with all the states. So, Assam and Meghalaya had a pact, and very peaceful pact, both on give and take relationship. It worked very well. So there was a talk of having this model to be used for resolution of boundary disputes across wherever it is there. Okay. Now what has happened is that there were certain, this state of Meghalaya, this is the Garo region over here. So the tribals of the Garo, some people have said that we want to be part of the Assam. Some said we want to be with Meghalaya only. So they were still in this Kamrup region over here in the border area. So people who did not like Meghalaya Garos, who did not like that Garo people going to Assam, so they have been fled away, right? So obviously civil movement was there, nothing to do by the state or the government. So they fled away. So this is about the security of the people. So that is what it is saying. And we get to know about the Garo community over here. Nothing more needed. Okay, now this news is important, very, very important. news is important from the point of view of Kudamshri actually. So that I'll discuss later. We'll discuss later. I'll show you the website of Kudamshri also. Okay, but let us first see what is there in the news. So Kerala mission to provide 20 lakh jobs. So Kerala mission. So what is this mission? So this mission is known as the Knowledge Economy Missions Project. So this will provide 20 lakh, obviously 20 lakh jobs would be created. And how will that be created? So there is this active, for the time being, just consider Kudamshri as workers. So Kudamshri, women workers. So Kudamshri workers will do surveys and find educated unemployed people, right? And educated unemployed youth. So they will go, they will do the survey and they will identify them and they will enroll them on a mobile application that is created by the Digital University of Kerala. Fine. So they go, Kudamshri people go, they find out, okay, fine, you are educated, unemployed, come, enroll in this app. So this is kind of a marketplace where from the data from the app, the people who need job, unemployed, and the employers, they can connect together. And wherever required, they can be also provided skill training. Right, so this is a very, very good initiative that has taken place in Kerala. Now coming to the Kudamshri. So Kudamshri is a very, very important case study actually. And yeah, very, very important over here. So this is the website of Kudamshri, which tells us about Kudamshri. What was Kudamshri? Kudamshri was actually an experimental exercise that took place in certain districts of Kerala. So there was women self-help groups to be created. So women self-help groups that were to be created, which would have been provided, self-help groups who are unemployed, who are in the poverty, this thing. So they would be, a group would be formed. They would be provided certain skills and they will be provided certain loan capital. So from that, they can do certain economic activity. And naturally, because they are in a group, there is collective accountability over here. The members take decision by means of vote, right? Majority basis. Each one helps the other person. And this also leads to the practice of thrift. One person cannot misuse the money that is being there or the whatever resources are there. So this enterprise was very, very successful. Later, this Kudamshri model was expanded to different states of different districts of Kerala, different regions. It was done. So now it has become very, very elaborate and it has become a network of community workers known as Kudamshri. So they take part in number of initiatives you see over here. So microfinance. So microfinance was the one that I told you that they'll be getting certain money at an interest rate. And they were very successful in returning that money also and formed successful ventures. Now, besides this, Kudamshri is being used for various activities, farm activities, animal husbandry, and bringing about a change in livestock practices. So that is also there. Okay. Then implementation of centrally sponsored schemes, urban projects, solid waste management. So all of that. So that is being done by the Kudamshri. If you want to know more about this self-help groups and cooperative movements, so there is this video of mine on cooperative societies on our channel, IASPrimers. Now, in fact, if you see this news over here, which is talking about, the survey being done and job seekers will be connected with the prospective employers. So this is again a community, the network of Kudamshris, which are working for the government, which is implementing a certain scheme. Okay, so this is there. And now again, we have the editorial and the opinion section. So in Sri Lanka, no quiet after the storm, right? So all this is taking place. So I'm not doing this. What all things are there? Just reading it for the first time, then it's fine. Okay, staying watchful. Inflation risks undermining growth and macroeconomic stability. Naturally, so inflation is very, very high. The fiscal deficit indicators are high. So this is not good. Current account deficit is increasing. So it is not good for the economy. So that is what it is saying. It's not really giving us beyond this. Okay. Now here also, the amount of underlining I have done, you don't really have to read so much. It's about India and South Korea building on their bilateral partnerships. So Seoul, or the capital of South Korea, can become the fourth pillar in New Delhi's Indo-Pacific strategy. Why suddenly this affection with South Korea? Why suddenly? So what has happened is we see let's do the map. Let's have the map of South Korea. Yeah. So you see, this is South Korea, and okay, so this is South Korea, and naturally there was a tilt earlier towards China. Now a new prime minister, a new president has come. So we'll read the name later. So new president has come, and he or she has made a significant change in the alignment of Korea, South Korea. So it seems that they are moving away from South China, and they are more willing to play a leadership role in the multilateral domain. So chord grouping, for example. So they're looking for greater partners. So they want to move away on the dependency on China. So this is a very, very significant development. Now, naturally, this would mean that they are open to have partnership with Japan. And again, Korea and Japan being neighbors, they don't have good relations. They are willing to partner in the South China Sea domain. Then if they are moving outside of China, they will need more partners. India being a significant populous country, significant resources, they can work together, right? So they would like to hedge. They would like to have an alternative against China. So India is well poised, well placed over there. Then, so for this purpose, we must attempt to upgrade our comprehensive economic partnership agreement, kind of a free trade agreement, right? So economic engagement should increase over here. Beyond that, we can work on the maritime security activities in the South China Sea, in the Indian Ocean region. And we all know that South Korea, all these Korea, Japan, etc., they are technologically very, very advanced. So they are leaders in critical technologies, cyber security, and cyber capacity. So cyber capacity building, cyber war, cyberspace. So this is a very, very important field. So outer space, space situational awareness. So South Korea can help with that regard to us. Right. So this is there, and with US also, the US is also warming up to South Korea. So this is a good shift. We must look at this thing. Otherwise, I don't really expect a question on South Korea. It's just that this was there. President is not a mere rubber stamp. Fine, right? So the election to the office of president is taking place, and so one we have Murmu, and one candidate, tribal candidate, and other we have Yashwant Sinha. So Yashwant Sinha said that I will be a president who's not a mere rubber stamp. Whatever the government says, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to agree to anything. I will protect the constitution. And here comes the issue. There was this question asked in the pre-paper. Don't really recollect the name. I think 2017 or 18. It has given which of the following. It gave us a statement of the oath to safeguard and protect the Constitution of India. And then 4 options were given, like President, Chief Justice of India. So like that, 4 options were there. So oath of the President. So that is very, very important. Okay. So we have the oath of the President, and it is about preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and the law of the country. So that is one thing. Second thing is, this article doesn't provide me much fodder, but a critical appraisal on the role of the president. Worded differently, of course. So president's power and president not being a mere rubber stamp. So critical observation over here. So this can be taken up. Okay, this is very important. I had shared it on the Telegram also. A diminishing demographic dividend GS3, a prominent theme on which UPSC asks question in the mains paper. So what it is saying is that we all say that India has a youthful population. Youthful population means population in the working age group. And population in the working age group is earning population. They are contributing to the economy and they are supporting the dependent population, those who cannot work. Right, so 0 to 15 and 65 and above. Now, what this article is drawing attention to is that, fine, we have a demographic dividend, we have a youthful population, and sadly, this doesn't say that we are not able to provide employment to that. So that is a different story. But it says that by 2037, so about 15 years from now, the share of India's youthful population between the age of 25 to 64 is projected to peak. We'll have the more number of youthful population, but it will start declining by 2052. Naturally, this population will get old also, and the birth rate is declining. So the share of the dependent population, the youthful population will come down because they are reproducing less, and these getting old. So the share of the dependent population will increase post that. So this is a problem. So this is the double whammy for India. Right. So this is a point of concern. And when we talk about this elderly population, even at the present times when we have lesser number of elderly population, in absolute terms, it is more than percentage terms, I'm saying. So we are not able to provide them adequate welfare like pension, healthcare facilities, security, and geriatric care, healthcare also. When we talk, the health expenses of the elderlies are much more, and the care that is required is different from an overall care for the healthcare sector. Naturally, being aged, dementia and other things would also be there, cancer, non-communicable diseases. So what I'm trying to say is, one is this double whammy over here, that youthful will come down, decline, this elderly will increase, so that is there. And youthful also, we need to create adequate jobs, otherwise that will become demographic dividend, would become demographic curse. That is one thing. The other thing is that we need to have a policy for the elderly. Right, we need to invest in that structure. Okay, so that is there. And remember yesterday's this thing. So some images, I think 5 images were uploaded. So not exactly 5, but so this is an explainer on the same. Okay, so see these images. So these were taken from the 5 running stunning images. Yeah, right, I was right. James Webb Space Telescope. And James Webb Space Telescope is associated with which agency? NASA. Okay. So yesterday we had seen this image, and this is an image of Carina Nebula, vividly showing the birth of a new star. And before this is the image of SMACS, which is a cluster of galaxies which date back to times when the first stars were born. Right, so this is that SMAC. Okay. This image, the Southern Ring Nebula over here, this is an image of a dying star. And this we have, and then we have the WASP 96, and then we have the Stephens Quintet, which is an example of the galaxies coming together and colliding. Right, so this is, you can see this number of galaxies coming together. Then we have WASP 96b. So this is basically an exoplanet, and exoplanet means a planet in a distant star, orbiting in a different star. So outside of sun, there are other stars also, so they also have planets, so exoplanets. So spectroscopic observation, right? So via spectroscopic observation, what they have seen is they have found that there is water vapor over there, right? So possibility of a life, but due to excessive heat over there, they feel life is not possible. Okay, quickly, India-China talks to be held on July 17th. Fine. So ongoing this dispute over there. So that is there. Then we have climate change missions in all districts of Tamil Nadu. I think I really have to say all of this, right? This is self-explanatory. So this was important. Important, interesting actually. So climate change we all talk about, and climate change when we say we are looking at it from the point of view of the country as a whole, right? What the country must be doing, should be doing. But here in Tamil Nadu, so a state initiative, in every district, in all 38 districts, there will be climate change missions. So at a very, very micro, a very, very smaller level, they are working on ways and on steps to deal with the issue of climate change. And that is also a measure for sustainable living. Okay, so they will be talking about at a very small level strategies to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, benchmark industries, so industries also as to what measures they should take to reduce pollution, then move towards green manufacturing, and green manufacturing would mean reliance on clean energy, solar energy, renewable energy, better waste management practices, right? Then they're talking about Mindam Manjapai campaign against the use of single-use plastics, right? So this is there. You can mention it as part of a case study, as part of an example. Okay, so Q1 new investments projects fall, right? So first of all, why do we need new investment? And this is predominantly talking about the manufacturing infra outlays fall sharply. Why do we need more investment? More investment in anything would mean more factories, more residential buildings, more shopping centers, more creation of more roadways. Right, that is what it means. So that would mean that there is capacity enhancement, capacity for more people to live, capacity for more production to take place, and all of that will ultimately lead to growth of GDP. We don't want the GDP to remain same. We want the GDP to grow. And we also want creation of employment. Naturally, with all of this taking place, with more investment would mean more capacity, more opportunities for people to be employed. Right, so that is there, and naturally because of number of factors, because of the financial aspect, because of the macroeconomic situation, inflation, and what else? Viability of the government, fiscal deficit rising, depreciation of the currency, higher cost price. This is coming low. Now, Q1 actually is not a very good indicator. We should have the entire spectrum before us before giving a conclusive remark. Okay, so monsoon session, ahead of monsoon session. So monsoon session will be held, and before that there will be an all-party meeting. Right, so all-party meeting, they will discuss what are they're going to be the agenda. Then opposition will decide how they will corner the government, etc., etc., etc. Okay, yeah, Hamid Ansari controversy that was there. Okay, assessing juvenility, a delicate task. So this is talking about juvenility when we say. So when crimes are conducted by children below the age of 18, so that they are juveniles. So for them to deal with that, to deal with the issue of juveniles, there is a Juvenile Justice Board, and there was a Juvenile Justice Care and Protection of Children Act. Naturally, people below the age of 18 are impressionable. They can be changed. If they are sent to normal prisons, they will be hardened into hardcore criminals. So separate provisions are required. Sometimes this thing is misused. Sometimes the age is underquoted. This is 18, we are less than 18, and so that to get lesser punishments. So to deal with that issues, there is a creation of this Juvenile Justice Board, which obviously looks at the issue of juveniles. But one of the tasks is assessing the age of the juveniles. Are they really below the age of 18? And for that, there are certain criteria, medical test, IQ test. So all of that there will take place, and then the board will decide, okay, fine, this person shall be treated as an adult or as a juvenile. So that is what the Supreme Court says, that it is a very, very difficult task, and it's actually, the issue has come. So it's a difficult task, and it is saying that the National Commission for Protection of Child Rights must look into this. Right now, please refer for yourself. What is this? What are the core, the objectives of this National Commission for Protection of Child Rights? Which age? Statutory body. It should be statutory body. Okay. So this thing has come because of this. I think which school was that? Rian International. I think Gurugram. One of the schools was there. A child was murdered. So it was with reference to that incident. So they are trying to decide the age of the child. The suspect was a class 9 student. The bench found that this assessment was limited to an IQ test. So based on an IQ test, it said that it should be tried as an adult. Yeah, tried as an adult. Okay. India has achieved clean energy targets 9 years before deadline. I find this is the statement by Ministry of Power Minister. Now, I find this very odd actually. Sometimes we get data on the news which says that we are lagging behind. Sometimes they say we are doing exceedingly well. Anyways, so by the moment we have, they are doing exceedingly well, and the targets have been reached 9 years before the deadline. Now comes the question: what are these clean energy targets? Right. So naturally, this is to do with the climate change. So in 2015, India had committed to ensure that 40% of its energy would come from renewable sources. And it was part of India's nationally determined contribution. So every country, as part of its commitment towards climate change, they have to declare certain objectives that they will do, that these are the things that a respective country would do to deal with the issue of climate change. So NDC. So one of the thing was this thing, other is having 1/3 area under the forest coverage, right? So that is there. Okay. So 40%. So it says that we have already reached that target, and in the Glasgow summit, this was increased to 50%, right? So we are already there. Now, this is important from Main's perspective. Push for wider use of genomics in all countries. So recently, World Health Organization had constituted a new agency known as the Science Council, right? So Science Council was created, and this was Science Council of Experts in April 2021. So very, very recent, to guide the WHO on matters of science, research, and strategy, right? So scientific matters to guide WHO, this body was created. So they have released their first report. They have worked and they have now released their first report. And in that it is saying that genomics should be encouraged in all countries. It should not be an exclusive domain of the developed and advanced countries. So normally new technologies, because they are investing more in the R&D, the developed countries have that, and later very slowly it percolates into the developing and least developed countries. So that should not be the case, because genomics is very, very important. Right? It is very, very important. It can be used for dealing with issues of finding new cures and treatments for medical conditions, in animal sciences, in agriculture, for example, genetic engineering for having sustainable crops that water hardy or drought. It can manage the drought better, right? So for a number of host of applications, for organ transplant, so a lot of things are there. Now, how will that do it? It will not like we say, okay, fine, WHO, please do it. They have to take certain measures for that. So for that, they will provide whatever shortcomings are there, be it with reference to finance, be it laboratory infrastructure, materials, manpower, trained manpower, so that they will have to take measures to address that, right? So that is there. Plus whatever ethical, legal, social issues are there, they will try to address that. Okay, so we get this. Now besides genomics is basically genome, basic genetic material. right? So it's very, very important. Okay, I'll just show you 1 second. So where is that? Yeah. Right, so it's the study of a person's gene, including interaction of those genes with each other. So genetic engineering, etc., become part of it. Now, please look here. There is this Human Genome Project, read, and Human Genome Project, write, WRITE. So this is also there in the news, and then there was this issue: should India be part of this Human Genome Project? Nationally, they should be part of this. So this is an important theme, and it can be taken up in your GS3 paper. Then with your pre-human genome project is being done by which agency, right? So international news. I genuinely feel this person would have done this thing, Mahinda Rajapaksa, with reference to Sri Lanka. Okay, so fine. So first round of this thing, elections to the office of Prime Minister. Joe Biden kicks off West Asia tour in Israel. So we'll have more coming up. So there is a group known as, I missed this news actually. So this is US believes that the 12 U2, a group comprising of India, Israel, US, UAE can become a feature of the West Asian region, just like the Quad. India, I2, U2. Okay, so in India, Israel, US, UAE. So no Iran. Fine, we'll have a look at this later. So we'll do this. Now coming to the international section, business section. So India imports from China rose to a record, right? So this is their dependency on China is there nevertheless. Okay, it also shows emergence of demand in the Indian economy. US June consumer inflation weakens, right? So it is at a 41-year high. And why does it affect us? One is it can amount to Fed hike, right? So Fed hike, it would mean the US Federal Bank increasing the rate. So that might further lead to outflow of capital from India to for US. And US inflation is high, that means developed countries inflation is high. That means in Europe also possibility is there that it will be high. And it is also an indicator that things are not good. Government may review windfall tax as oil prices slides. Okay, so what is this windfall tax? Oil prices have increased. So because of that, the revenue that is being accrued is also increasing because thing that you're selling is increasing, price is increasing. So to normalize that, to normalize the gains that are coming, the government introduces the windfall tax. Right, so that is the windfall tax over here. Yeah. So it is a higher rate of profit, higher rate on profits that ensue from a sudden windfall gain to a particular company or industry. So that may be reviewed when the price seems to come down. Okay. Rupee slips to new low of 79.81. There was this thing that it will come to 82 rupees. June private passenger vehicles, private only. Passenger vehicle sales rise 19% as supply chip improves, right? It is also an indication of one. Maybe because of the supply chain, the production was affected, so that is reflective in the overall sales because of the backlog. Construction units to see healthy revenue growth and more women eyeing role of entrepreneurs. So this is part of the global gender gap report. Right, so this is the sports section. Okay, so this concludes the daily news analysis. So thank you for staying with us for our daily news analysis. Bye-bye, take care, and all the best.